Priestess with Pamela Eakins, Chapter 12, Pamela, the Second Reformation, California Coast, End of the Second Millennium. Some say the labyrinth is a prison from which only the brilliant, creative, or extremely resourceful can escape. Some say this prison harbors in its deep interior spaces the monster of the moon, the Minotaur, representative of the frightful unknown, who, at any turn, around any bend, in any instant, may devour the innocent wanderer. The Minotaur, they say, must be appeased. The challenge of the labyrinth, therefore, is to willingly become a sacrificial victim, to enter the precarious maze strong and without flinching, to consciously navigate the dark passages of inner fear, to turn the power of fear into faith and strength, and to creatively slaughter the beast with the simple weapon of your own ingenuity. That is how, they say, you will come to understand the true meaning of freedom. Some say the labyrinth is a birth canal, that through the twining labyrinthine passage we wind our way into life. Labor is Latin after the Greek for labor. Inth has the same meaning as into. Through a difficult and laborious process, all of us, all sentient beings, spiral into the condition of form and substance. Through the intense process of parturition, the labor which molds and carves the primordial forces and forms of the universe into patterns and shapes, we become. They say, too, those who have thought about it, that the labyrinth is the intricate passageway into death. At the center, they say, is the tomb, the womb at the end of the journey that opens to receive us. To die, they say, is to travel to the underworld, the unknown abyss, that deep and chilly place where every sun king must come to rest in the cradling folds of winter. They say, too, we can navigate the abyss without dying. A human-made, architecturally designed labyrinth, symbolic of the passage of the soul through life, is a patterned walkway, a building or underground tunnel system, a maze, often constructed with confusing entries and exits and convoluted hallways that stop abruptly, and just as abruptly, open onto other hallways so as to confound the journeyer's rational or intuitive sense of direction. Such mazes, oriented on the earth as to honor the course of planets and stars, sun and moon, were built by Egyptians, Greeks, and Europeans of yore. It is told that adepts in the highest degree, great hierophants and priestesses, entered the meandering passages of these labyrinths with secret guidance to the inner chamber, the holy of holies at the labyrinth's heart, where the most fabulous initiations in freedom, compassion, wisdom, and possibility were known to magically unfold. There is lesson after lesson upon the labyrinth's path. The labyrinth I have walked in this life has not been fraught with dead ends or spiraling maelstroms from which there was no return, but rather it has been as if I place my foot upon the path and the one-way road opens miraculously in front of me, showing me the way at every bend. I have learned that I travel protected Sometimes I get wonderful glimmers of insight. It is as if I can sometimes see through windows in the labyrinth's walls, straight into the ceremonial chamber where the holiest acts occur. These windows, like thick-framed, rectangular, glassless openings in baked mud brick masonry, are ancient altars lit with candles, set with holy objects, to remind you of your ultimate destination, to remind you of what is truly important, especially when you get distracted or frightened by the worldly ebb and flow. I have been inside the ceremonial chamber of the labyrinth also. I have been inside and back out again, and time after time, entirely new pathways are revealed. I light the candle to celebrate the 8th day of my ruminations. The power of the priestess is the power to remember, Riavec says. You are remembering all that has ever been, so that you can understand what is. Through remembering what has been, you shall know what is to become. You shall break every pattern and mold, and your service to the earth world shall be thoughtful. You are preparing for your ministry by activating the memory of what has gone before. And with this memory activated, you are preparing to remember the depth of who you are and the sacred form of the future. You are remembering that you are limitless. You are remembering your sacred dance, that the dance is universal, that the whole of the universe is a sacred temple for the dancer who is awakened. The power of the priestess is memory. The priestess remembers all that has been, all that is, and all that ever shall be. She blocks nothing out, denies nothing. She opens her inner vision and sees all. All knowledge, all that seems dark and light alike, stands revealed. The priestess is keenly sensitive, highly aware. She realizes that every experience contains a message. She learns, she grows, she finds omens, she heals, she teaches, she learns. This is her mystery. Through the dark collective memory of all that was, is, and shall become, the one light of knowledge is revealed. Truth shines through the collective memory of darkness. There is light in this darkness. We know this to be true, and yet the source of our faith remains a mystery. The priestess carries male in one hand, female in the other. She is yang as well as yin, light as well as dark, positive as well as negative, action as well as reception, initiative as well as response. In her hands, she holds the Akasha, the sacred records of all that has been and all that is yet to come. She stands at the conjunction of the eternal Father and the eternal Mother. She is the fulcrum. She is the union. She is absolute balance and creative potential, the sexless, sexful equation for life. And always and forever she stands at the bridge across the abyss. Always and forever she stands as endless spirit in the endless eternal light facing darkness. She comes to know the nuances of the abyss. She befriends dark creatures and embraces her lessons. The unknown becoming known is the source of her creativity and the source of her humility. She draws from the abyss the essential energies that represent the highest potencies of the human soul, and these potencies she cherishes, and these potencies she nurtures. She knows the void well. Her body is built around it. Close your eyes, Riavek says softly. I hear his voice with my inner ear, soothing and gentle, and I wonder if he will leave me when these meditations cease. Close your eyes, he whispers. Be in peace and drop into that deep place from which all vision is conceived. I feel myself dropping down, 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 moving deeper into the great abyss until finally the theater eternal appears and the velvet curtains part to reveal the inspirational stage. The setting is a cathedral, and I see myself standing just as I am today in a long black dress, shivering uncertainly. I am standing still at the entrance to a round labyrinth in the middle of a gray slate floor, halfway between a huge stone baptismal font and the last row of rows and rows and rows of pews. The altar at the end of the nave is fantastic. My head is bent forward and my hands are praying with the tips of my fingers touching my forehead. I stand a few steps from the labyrinth's edge, facing the altar, wavering as if measuring the scene, considering when or if I will step forward and engage. The cathedral is cold, cold as ice. I feel a chill moving up through my stockinged feet, into my ankles and legs, into my solar plexus. My heart shakes, my hands ache. Between my praying palms, I hold a metal disc, a circular replica of the 13th century maze I stand confronting. The cold metal is uncomfortable against my closed palms, and yet I cling tightly. I refuse to be daunted. Red and blue shadows dance like ghosts about the floor. Gray stone, gray air. I am chilled from the outside in, vulnerable from the inside out. I feel ice in my lungs, and I worry that I will be ill. With frosted breath, I have walked 100 steps past the huge bronze doors. It is stone cold, painfully cold, infinitely cold. Yet I have maintained my mission. I have removed my shoes, left them on the steps of the font. I have anointed my forehead, my cheeks, my throat. I will speak truth. I have been thrice baptized, Eastern, Western, and universal. Candles flicker in a black iron sconce. I have kindled a votive for each child. May you know peace, my daughter. May you find love, dear son. Many candles dance in the half-light, winter light that flows like slow burning lava through crystal blue ice-lined, stained glass. My hair stands on end. I am cold or ill or out of breath, and my palms, fused together with the power of intention, begin to grow wet, as if the medallion is creating a physical reaction of rejection. I feel the metal begin to heat. I feel it sear. I want to drop the metal, but my hands will not obey. My blood races, my body screams with physical pain. My heart wants to cry out. I feel a little tear upon my cheek, but I will not part my hands to brush it off. My friend has died in the morning. Fear. My friend has died, and this seems like the central question. Why are we born just to die? I stand facing my own fear of the unknown, fear of not knowing what the labyrinthine passages hold. Weakness overshadows strength, the order of things, which seemed more certain earlier, becomes confused. Is the challenge to surrender and move to the next level? Is the challenge to trust what we know to be true? Because nothing is real, nothing, except that which we internalize through our own individual experience. I stand at the mouth of the labyrinth, hesitating, deliberating. I feel alone, even though I am not. Others have entered the twisting pathway already. I wait. The labyrinth, viewed from a distance, fills a huge circle that 75 people with hands joined together might encompass. A single path winds through in a pattern of 4 quadrants of concentric circles, weaving in and weaving out in hairpin turns that sometimes take you close to center, sometimes far away. There is only one path with no blocks or tricks, only one path that leads in, which is the same path leading out, and still it is impossible to discern who walks before and who walks behind. So great is the labyrinth's complexity. At the center of the labyrinth is a single rosette, an empty space around which 6 petals open outward. This is a space in which 10 people could join hands, stand or sit, kneel or prostrate themselves in stillness at the heart of endless movement. You could pause at center to touch the divine. I step forward in silence. I decide to begin, to sacrifice myself willingly to what may become. And as I walk, I begin to remember. I am a mystical arrow delivered by a mysterious bow. I am moving in a mysterious flow, and I must move in awe. Replace fear with awe. Replace fear with awe. This comes to me strongly now. My teacher once said to me, "What should I do if I find I am going down the road in fear?" She did not wait for me to answer. I should turn around and go the other way. That is what I should do. The other way is the direction of faith. Fear and faith are 2 different directions on the same road. Either direction you choose will take you to the same destination, because there is but one road and one end, but you can reach the destination in fear or in faith. The choice is yours. Which way do you want to go? I gather strength to move in faith. Over and over, I relearn that I was released to the world protected. In the beginning of this incarnation, I entered through my parents. My parents were the bow, and I am the arrow who issued from their embrace. But before I came from them, I came to them. I flew into their union, and as I round the first turn in the labyrinth, moving in faith, a vision of what was suddenly awakens. The way I came to my mother's womb, I remember just now, was dark, and it was light also. I passed through levels and layers of pain and fear and darkness, legions of monsters with gnashing teeth and shrieking shadow-like phantoms that clawed after my form. I passed through regions of light so brilliant it became a frequency that blasted me to pieces. There was a time there was nothing but shimmering, luminescent fog, pure suspension. And there were beings of gold and strange golden flowers, soft, gentle, loving, inhabiting worlds of pure joy and endless beauty. I walk slowly and I remember the journey as I round a corner close to center. The labyrinth opens, pauses, twists back on itself. I walk the path, remembering passing through the countless realms. I pass through regions of becoming as a starseed, twirling like the shadow of a snowflake, lifted by a winter wind that whispers and cajoles me, and as close as I can come to telling, the breath of the spirit melodiously sings out, love, 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 love. The language of the angels is love. As I drifted into form, I was like the rest, indiscernible as a fleck in a blizzard, and yet I carried a seed structure with the recipe for life and the codified graven imprint of 250 generations, along with the hopes and dreams and incredulous wonder of pure individual potential. I swirled through ages and dimensions, spiraling, 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 until I found myself suddenly pulled into a massive cycloning vortex of centrifugal energy. Down, down, down I sailed, spinning in imposing force and the spiral of movement until the door between the worlds cracked open and into her womb I flew. It is the egg, the beginning and end of the cycle of being that reaches out and embraces the sperm. The high priestess of becoming chooses one blessed fish of the many thousands who stand at the holy gate begging entrance to the adytum. The teachers of the ancient mysteries have always spoken. Many are called, but few are chosen. The spirit of me was there, floating in the cosmic sea, but neither was I egg nor sperm. Then both egg and sperm dissolved into one being, and the star seed of me entered the inner sanctum as an offering upon the altar of life, and physically began to multiply in dividing spheres of actual material form. I became the arrow that shot from the bow. My father was the arch ascending, the bow's upper end. He was the sun, constant, eternal, light on the horizon, waking the days with awesome brilliance. He lit the fields, woke the tillers. Movement, power, glory, courage, fire, intensity, force. He was pulsing voltage, searing control. If you could not see him, you had clouds in your eyes. Dance like an eagle, fly to the sky. You are limited only by how you choose to develop your skill and your will to persevere. These were his teachings. The right of flight is yours. Build wings that last. Will of the world, my father was the eternal Father described by ancient Kabbalists, moved not by victory nor by defeat. This was his secret, and he succeeded always. Following his convictions, he worked in timely ways, and heaven and earth saw fit to conform and obey. Dedicated, loyal, masterful, and noble, my father was the Son and the God of the Son. He laid claim to the sacred oracle and instructed politicians. He sought liberty or he sought death. His law was society. He retained the right to rebel against injustice. Sun god Apollo, far-shooting lord of the silver bow, my father walked at no man's heel. It is written, "From your throne of truth, from your dwelling place at the heart of the world, you speak to men. By Zeus's decree, no lie comes there, no shadow to darken the word of truth. Zeus sealed by an everlasting right Apollo's honor, that all may trust with unshaken faith when he speaks." My father was Apollo reborn in the 20th century. Freedom was his cause. Truth was his method. He would have agreed with Thomas Jefferson, who said, "I have sworn upon the altar of God eternal hostility against every form of tyranny over the mind of man." As my father was the sun and the god of the sun, my mother was the moon and the moon goddess also. She was the bow's lower arch, the eternal mother of the Kabbalists, a watery door in the midst of the endless curves of circling light, spiraling tunnel-like to the deepest, darkest core of vision. She was the doorway to forever. Her reflection enthralled, fascinated, and captivated. She was the protectress of dewy youth, protectress of the heart of inner sight, opening, waxing, waning, descending. Sinking down in meditation, she bore the gift of all creation. Channel of universal energies, she dreamed in colors, while my father, beside her on the double bed, enacted his nightly dreams in black and white. My mother awakened in dreams. She lived in wonder. She was Artemis, lunar virgin, mother of creation, huntress. She conceived and birthed all form, and to her all form returned. She was the goddess of cycles, the doorway to the beginning and end, the first and the last, the Alpha and the Omega. Her message was, imagine. Twin sister to Apollo, my mother was the lady of wild things. She was Artemis, and nature was her law. Thus rings her Homeric hymn. I sing of Artemis, whose shafts are of gold, who cheers on the hounds, the pure maiden, shooter of stags, who delights in archery. Over the shadowy hills and windy peaks she draws her golden bow, rejoicing in the chase. And when she is satisfied, she hangs up her curved bow and arrows and heads and leads the dances, gracefully arrayed, while they all raise their heavenly voice. Behold, the woman is a great warrior, the followers of Artemis cry. She has gone forth and captured a soul. My mother captured the souls of dreams and brought them forth through art. Her hunting grounds were the subconscious landscape. She wielded her arrows in the dark without fear. This I remember as the path twists from center. I first saw the works of Kate Kollwitz in my mother's art studio. This reminds me, be of stout heart. My father was the sun, my mother was the moon. The two were one bow, two gracefully extending limbs carved of the same energy. With praying hands, as I walk the labyrinth, I ask, who created the archer's tool? Who searched the forest, discovered the tree, cut the branch of lemonwood, yew, or hickory, conducive to such perfect curvature, such resilient flexibility? Who knew that Apollo must ascend while Artemis was descending? What brilliant master, what ingenious mistress did realize that the exaggerated tension of opposites creates such fierce and pleasing flow? And who named the weapon? Who engraved upon its back the words freedom, compassion, wisdom, possibility? For surely this must be the bow's name, as surely as sun and moon arise at the eastern horizon and set in the west. How wise is she who finally sees that the bow, at variance within itself, intensely agrees. Walking in faith, it is easy to honor your father and your mother. Divine man springs from divine woman springs from divine man. The two intertwine and unite, and all possibility is born. I shot from the womb on the path of the arrow with no string attached to the bow. I carried my own source of propulsion. I tried to walk in faith, and if I shivered inside, I usually kept it to myself. When I walk the path in faith, I walk the way of beauty, stepping ever in eternal being. My friend has died just hours ago, and I say to her now, speaking with my heart, Judy, do not be afraid. Travel the path in faith, and I will travel with you. She is walking the labyrinth with me. I feel her presence with me, and I weep. I cannot help myself. Judy, I whisper, the path twists and turns. We are moving towards center, always towards center, to enlightened being, to perfection, to universal harmony. Love has always been with us. Love has always been our guide, and so it shall ever be. Love is the greatest freedom because through love our spirit soars. Our spirit, like a graceful angel, soars beyond laws of society, beyond laws of nature. Judy, dear Judy, there is nothing in this world or the next so powerful as to alter the course of love. I feel her walking with me. I feel her strength. I feel her tenacity, her resilience. She is with me, gathering strength for her journey. I am with her, facing another dimension with open eyes. The path twists and turns. We cannot see the overall design at the moment we are inside it. We walk in faith. We walk in trust. We make of ourselves an offering, walking in the memory of pure divine being. We arrive at center and remember who we are. Then we walk back out, twisting and turning on the same path by which we came, carrying with us the illuminating force of pure realization. I remember Judy's last words to me, her last gesture before she departed this realm. She could not speak, or so I believed. She could not move. Her body was still. She could not raise her head, her hands. She could not even blink. Her eyes were half open, glazed and staring into the direction of nothingness. And still, she was beautiful. She was the apparition of an angel, her cheek soft against the pillow. The light around her glowed with a mysterious aura. Her room was the opening between worlds. She was surrounded by flowers. She was surrounded by gods and goddesses, by sacred art, now ensouled with holy presence. Her spirit stood at the threshold, and the angels were calling. Her spirit rose to join the angels, but then something in the world called her back. I looked upon my friend, she who had cared so much that the world should be at peace, that we should enjoy multicultural realities, that divinity was the birthright of all beings. I looked upon my friend and beheld her comatose state, the voice discarded that would never again preach about how it might be, and I could not contain my own suffering. I stroked her hair. I picked up a pink rose, hanging down its head in a glass of water on the table beside the bed. I said to my sister, "My love, what beautiful fragrance comes from the rose. See how the rose has blessed you." I stroked her beautiful long gray hair, pushing it back from her face, and I sprinkled her pillow with the rose petals that voluntarily floated from the stem. It was as if by the testament of the fading rose, the dying woman was blessed by nature. The tears, which I had tried so hard to contain, then began to spill out against my will, but I did not cry out of pain. I did not weep in agony. I cried in suffering. But the suffering was more from the beauty of the moment. I cried with love for my friend. I cried for her beauty. I cried for the love of life, for the understanding of every cycle, for every birth, for every death, for every child that walks upon this earth. The tears poured down my face, and with these tears I anointed my sister. With my tears I painted her body with holy signs and symbols of protection for the journey she would take. "My dear sister," I said, "I have only my tears for holy water, and with my tears I anoint you with the sacred symbols of protection for the journey. Call me in your mind, and I will be with you on the path. Call me if you are afraid, and I will bring you strength. I will bring you love." I anointed her forehead, and we took all our thoughts into one single thought centered just behind the eyes, and the name of that thought was love. The sky was dark beyond the window, but the room glowed with a radiant otherworldly light. There was the city beyond, people going to and from work, tourists crowding the marina, the cable car ringing its bell as it was passing by in front of the apartment, a passing siren. All of this was transpiring all around, but in the midst of all the movement, I sat with my friend in the rarefied space at the cusp where life and death join hands. I held her beautiful hand. "Judy," I said, "I'm not crying because I'm sad. I'm crying from happiness. I am so happy because I can see that you are an angel. You are an angel taking flight. I can see your wings. They are extended and ready. They are open for flight. Your soul is free. You are called to greater life. You are called to greater love. Her eyelids fluttered a little. Always I knew her soul could hear me. Always I could hear her soul speaking in my heart. And Judy, I said, this is what I can see that I never saw before. I can see that I, too, am an angel. You have taught me this, dear sister. I am your soul's reflection. I, too, have wings. We are sister angels on the path, sister angels flying toward the center, toward the light, toward the heart of being. And upon this path, dear sister, we have never been separate. Her hand in mine moved just the tiniest bit. A single tear rolled from her half-open eye and settled on her nose. She knew we were both angels. I cried all the more at this small communication, but I knew somehow that mine were tears of joy strangely arising in the midst of human suffering. I cried with love, with pain, with surrender, with peace. I said, you have wings, and I have wings, dear sister, and we can jump off and fly. We can jump off the cliff, and together we can fly into the black abyss carried on the wings of love. We can fly. We can fly. My heart felt like it would break in two. The tears poured over my cheeks, and I laughed a little for the irony and the beauty of life, and I know that Judy was laughing with me. I could feel her laughter. I know we were laughing and crying together, and I laughed and cried and stroked her beautiful hair that fanned out upon the pillow. I sat beside her bed. I prayed and meditated with her. I sounded the tones of my 7-metalled singing bowl, the one made by monks from Tibet, and these tones I played over her body from the top of her head to the tips of her toes and back again to the top of her head. I told her I loved her. I told her she was loved and cared for by the Holy Mother, by the Divine Father, by all the angels, that she was flying now back to the radiant sea from which she had earlier come. After a long, long time, after many hours, I stood up and bent over and kissed her on the forehead. I will come again to visit, I said. I walked over and stood by the door, tears still blinding my sight. I said, I love you, Judy. And even though I believed her eyes could not see me, I blew her a kiss. Her eyes could not see me, but her soul saw all. Suddenly, she opened her eyes. She looked deep into my eyes. She came alive and looked piercingly, and it was as if the woman I had known suddenly re-entered the near lifeless form. With all the might that was in her, with every ounce of energy she could muster, she spoke ever so slowly, ever so haltingly, and these were her words. I love you. Then, very, very slowly, as if aided by the angels in the other dimension, she slowly raised up her thin arm, the arm I never believed would move again. Very, very slowly moved her curled, never again to be straightened hand to her lips and blew to me her last kiss. All that we believe is not possible is possible. Together, my friend, we walk the labyrinth. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust, they say. We shall scatter your ashes in the ocean, and they shall blow back over the beach and the bluffs and mingle with the rain. We shall scatter your ashes in the place that you played and lived and loved in the days when you were free and happy. Sometimes we cannot imagine when we are in that place how much we love it. Sometimes it takes the perspective of having lived much longer before we can remember how happy we were in a certain place at a certain time. We shall scatter your ashes in the place you lived when you were married. At your last request, we shall throw your ashes over the edge of the cliff to the crashing sea below. The waves shall be breaking in all directions. The ocean shall be in a storm. The day shall be blustery, and your ashes shall fly back into our faces and land upon our coats and in our hair. We shall be coated in your ashes, and the ground shall be coated with your ashes, and the sea shall carry your ashes to distant lands, to the sacred and ancient temples of the goddess that you love. And together we shall utter the ancient Celtic blessing put into poetry by Mary Rogers, the last stanza altered to fit our momentary need. Deep peace of the running wave to you, of water flowing, rising and falling, sometimes advancing, sometimes receding. May the stream of your life flow unimpeded. Deep peace of the running wave to you. Deep peace of the flowing air to you, which fans your face on a sultry day, the air which you breathe deeply, rhythmically, which imparts to you energy, consciousness, life. Deep peace of the flowing air to you. Deep peace of the quiet earth to you, who, herself unmoving, harbors the movements and facilitates the life of the 10,000 creatures while resting, contented, stable, tranquil. Deep peace of the quiet earth to you. Deep peace of the shining stars to you, which stay invisible till darkness falls and discloses their pure and shining presence, beaming down in compassion on our erring world. Deep peace of the shining stars to you. Deep peace of the watching shepherds to you, of unpretentious folk who, watching and waiting, spend long hours out on the hillside, expecting in simplicity some coming of the Lord. Deep peace of the watching shepherds to you. Deep peace of the child of peace, all illumined, who, swift as the wave and pervasive as the air, quiet as the earth and shining like a star, breathes into us peace and spirit, deep peace of the child of peace to you. And your ashes shall fall upon such grasses as have braved the salt and sea and winter storms, and our tears shall fall into the rivulets carved by the season, and we by our acts shall be redeemed. Ashes, they say, have the power to absolve and to forgive the living. By touching ashes, we are burned clean, the way the field is cleared by burning for a season of new growth. We scatter your ashes, and we are purified. We are burned clean in spirit, heart, mind, and body. We open and become creative. The physical body poured upon earth makes the earth fertile, while the spiritual body soars. The cathedral is dank and cold. I stop in the labyrinth and glance upward. There is a huge black opening, a huge window. It seems 15 feet high, framed by cold gray stones in the top of the back wall. This window does not lead to light outside. It opens onto interior darkness. Through the arched opening, you can only see blackness. Not darkness, not shades of gray, but sheer and deep blackness. It is a massive black hole of unmoving energy. There is a small candle perched upon the lower ledge. It is so high up, I think there must be stairs behind it, or you could not place a candle there. How would you set a candle there? All at once, against that darkness, the candle's tiny flame seems as bright as it seems diminished. Like the flash of a comet, we are small flares streaking the night sky. In geological time, we are not even a comet's tail. They say if we look at earthly existence in the time frame of a clock that has 24 hours on its face rather than 12, so that what is normally 6 o'clock would be 12 o'clock noon, and what is normally 12 o'clock would be 12 midnight, the simplest life forms did not even begin until 3:50 in the morning. Then nothing at all happened until almost 9 in the evening, 17 hours later, about 600 million years ago, when diverse and complex organisms began. Then around 10:30, about 145 million years ago, dinosaurs began to roam the earth, and they were on the planet for 100 million years. At 11:59:59:02, just before midnight, that was 100,000 years ago, Homo sapiens appears. At 11:59:59:09, humans begin to write their story. We are a flash in the pan, just a twinkle in Daddy's eye, and yet that flash in the pan is everything. I remember my son's 3rd birthday. It was the first year he realized that his birthday was his special day. We had moved to the beach about 3 months earlier. We had a wonderful backyard, just perfect for 8 rowdy little boys, all new and fascinating acquaintances, to play in. We had a great party. There were birthday hats and hot dogs, balloons, a big chocolate cake saying "Happy Birthday, Taylor," a paper mache piñata filled with candy, and plenty of toys. We made a bonfire and sang songs. Taylor opened a pile of presents. We took home movies. All in all, it was about as glorious as any party could ever be. At 9 o'clock that night, I dressed Taylor in his pajamas and tucked him in his cozy little bed. But he said he couldn't sleep. He had to go in his sister's room. All right then. I arranged a sleeping bag for him on Kachen's floor, right next to her bed, where they could talk quietly and hear each other breathing. I left the room. Then suddenly I heard Taylor crying. He was crying for Mama. Mama, Mama. I went back into the room. What is it, Taylor? What's the matter? I scooped his baby body into my arms and hugged him and rocked him until he became quiet and could get back in his sleeping bag. Now, why were you crying, Taylor? I asked. Mama, he said, I think about the party and it will never come again. I knew he meant he thought about the party and was sad that it was over. Oh, that, I said, and the solution to his sadness seemed very simple. Indeed, I said, Taylor, you get to have a birthday every year. Isn't that exciting? We will have so many parties. They will be so wonderful, just like today. We'll have balloons and cake and hot dogs. The boys will come. You'll all play games. Cajun will be there. You wait and see. A birthday is a wonderful thing. But he said to me, Mama, this day will never come again. Gone, irretrievable, over. I understood. Then I cried. I am walking the labyrinth and I remember Taylor's birth. It was so beautiful after the stormy assembly line fraught with confusion and technical difficulties birth I had with Cajun in the hospital. Taylor was born in a soft and gentle birth home. A few days after his birth, I wrote, in sacred waters you were anointed, they rubbed olive oil into your black hair, when all we knew of you was one small patch. Olive oil in your hair, and you were born bare, reborn naked, consecrated boy. And they blessed me, consecrated me, anointed me, your oil the same as mine, as you came down in time, birthing. The two of us, anointed the both of us. In sacred waters we were born as two, consecrated anew, and then formally divided by the one who made us one, by the one who made us two, formally divisible. We were formally divided in the moment we were blessed. Secrets now confided, secrets now outside us, confessions and pure knowing in tenderness and in holiness. With each caress, my soft tears fell and mingled with the holy waters, mingled with the sacred waters in which my son was blessed, mingled with the holy oil, the olive oil, which was your path, our path to life. You sleep softly. You hold your little hands by the side of your face. I carry you to the bedroom. Your arms move in a reflex reaction. You are dreaming. Are you dreaming of your days in the womb? Are you dreaming of the strange and forgotten world from which we have come? You are so close to that world. You are so fresh, so new, only days old. I wish I could see into your dreams. In your eyes, I see glimmers. Sleep softly, my son. I kiss you on your soft cheek. You were born on a Thursday. Thursday's child. The contractions began at night. I slept. I woke at 6 in the morning feeling like I was 8 years old and it was the first day of school. Today my child would be born. Today I would meet a person who would be with me, at least in my heart and soul, for the rest of my life. I stood in the shower washing carefully, blood deep and rich, not like the pink-tinted water of last night, flowed down my legs from my vagina and swirled down the drain. I was deep in labor, but I refused to succumb to whimpering. I challenged the labor. I called upon the tightening to come. I screamed at the contractions. I called upon them to strengthen. Come, come, come. Come on, as strong as you can. I can ride the waves. I dare you to come. I dare you. I am fearless. You will see. Come, pain. Ha! Come, pain. Come. I sent challenge after challenge to the throes of nature and my own potential for survival. I would bear my child with the strength of a mother bear. I washed my hair. Water ran down around my ears. It flowed upon my breasts and caressed the baby within me. It felt like soft, hot rain falling on my body. Soft, hot rain, soothing me, loving me. At length I emerged, chose a loose dress that would not show wetness. I combed my hair. I must be beautiful to meet my baby. At 7 o'clock, I called the doctor. The doctor spoke from a half sleep. His voice was tired and sexy, choked with early morning. Perhaps it was me who felt sexy, fluid and female and primal. The doctor thought, then asked, "What signs?" Bloody show, close contractions, sheer excitement. I was pacing, walking fast, walking hard, restricted only by the length of the telephone cord that tethered me to the wall. "Get in the car and come now," he said. We drove to the birth home. I made myself a cup of tea. Why hurry, I thought. I was a woman truly in my power. I set down the cup. I leaned against the kitchen counter and breathed heavily. I closed my eyes and I breathed and breathed until I moved into the inside of my own breath. I breathed in 1, 2, 3, held my breath 1, 2, 3, out 1, 2, 3. Everything in the world faded, everything but my own breath. I became my own breath and stayed like this for a long time. When I opened my eyes, the doctor was standing before me, laughing. I had not heard him come in. I moved into a state of surrealism. People were coming and going, friends, family. It was 9:20. I was on the bed in the lovely room with plants and French doors leading out to the garden. Morning doves cooed under the fruit trees. The light flowed into the room like warm honey. People were bringing in flowers. My mother arrived with Kätchen. There were soft strains of Bach sonatas playing in the background, and every single thing seemed to be right. The doctor checked the dilation of my cervix and grinned. He said, "You're 8 centimeters." I said, "I don't believe it. Are you sure?" He checked me again. 8. My husband told me to get a look of disbelief on my face, and he snapped my picture. We all laughed. We were laughing, and the doctor said, "Well, I guess I won't be going to the office this morning." And we all laughed some more. I laid down on my side. I breathed in, 1, 2, 3. Hold, 1, 2, 3. Out, 1, 2, 3. Between contractions, I laughed. I continued to chide the contractions. "Come on, I dare you to get stronger. Come on, I dare you. You think I can't handle it? You're wrong. You're wrong." The golden light shone in the nurse's blonde hair. The golden light danced in the doctor's red beard. My husband and my friend held my hands, and we breathed together. We all breathed. We shared the same breath. Life is one. Life is one breath. 10:15. A tiny lip of cervix left. Soon, soon. "Mama, Mama!" Kachin called out to me, and she ran to me and she jumped on the big bed, and I held her while I labored. We were all sitting there on the big bed, and my mother was leaning against the French door crying. The nurse massaged my vagina with olive oil. She was opening a passage for the baby. Blankets were warming in the oven. I was pushing. "Ah!" "Breathe out," they said. Hands were supporting me. "Push hard," they said. I pushed as hard as I could. Then I looked up and saw my friend in the doorway. "I'm pushing, Barb," I called, and my cry was gleeful. She came in and joined us on the bed. Hands were on me, supporting me. "Okay," said the doctor. "Now, some gentle pushes. Try pushing between contractions. Push whenever you want." My mother was holding Kachin. I pushed. I was controlled. "Ah!" Breathe out. "Ah!" My vagina was stretching. I gritted my teeth. My body was opening like a flower, and the eye of me had nothing to do with it. "Open!" I screamed inwardly, still challenging. It was the most intense burning I have ever felt, but I still refused to call it pain. "The baby's coming! The baby's coming!" This was me calling out. I was letting them know that the baby was almost here. My mother yelled, "That's the baby's head!" and the tears were streaming down her face. I wanted to cry too. I felt my throat tighten, but there was so much work yet to be done. I pushed. I stretched. I burned. Then the head was out. 10:44. The doctor said, "Here comes your baby. Reach it down." I sat up and reached down between my legs and took a firm hold of my child. I reached beneath the baby's arms, heard a small cry, and pulled my child from my womb onto my belly. I pulled my child right up out of my womb. Oh my God! Oh my God! The baby was wet and purple, and its face was squashed like an old man. I held the baby on my stomach and felt the velvet skin. Gently, I rubbed the baby's back. Gently, I rubbed the velvet skin. I rubbed the vernix into the wrinkles on my face, too, because the midwives had told me vernix was the best skin cream in the world. I held the baby close. "Is it a boy or a girl?" I asked. "Feel and see," the doctor said. Everyone waited. I had a little surge of egotistical anxiety. Suppose I could not tell. I reached down around the baby's bottom and slid my hand between the little legs. "It's a boy," I announced. It's a boy. And all the world echoed, It's a boy, it's a boy, it's a boy. All the world's heart was dancing. I lay for a long, long while with my babe upon my belly. Christopher Taylor, born 10:44 in the morning. Weight 8 pounds 7 ounces. Length 20.5 inches. Temperature 97.5 degrees. Condition: born in the golden light of love. We are a fleck of light shooting briefly through the night sky, nothing. And yet our fleeting moment is everything. I was thinking about this as I sewed the minister's stole for my ordination. I was sewing strips of rich purple brocade onto rich, warm, cream-colored satin. I was stitching the sacred piece of ritual clothing, the one I would wear to officiate at weddings, funerals, baptisms, the one in which I would be ordained, the outward sign of my ordination. And I thought of how unimportant the whole thing is, and yet how completely important it all is right at the same time. I experienced, as I sewed, something that felt like a past life memory. I remember hemming priests' vestments, but the vestments were not for me. Women were forbidden. We were forbidden because God gave to man a son, and because male priests bear a natural resemblance to the son. It is fitting that only male priests should perform the son's role at the Mass. This logic comprises the official position and the official statement of the Catholic Church. It was called revolutionary by historians. It was called the Second Reformation when the Anglican Church began to ordain women priests in 1993. The Second Reformation of the Western tradition is about allowing women at last to become celebrants. But it is much more than that also. The Second Reformation is about moving, as theologian Mary Daly would say, beyond God the Father. It is about recognizing that divinity is contained in feminine forms. It is about the recognition of the mother as sacred, recognizing that the Mother Earth is sacred. It is about ecology and human rights and self-esteem. It is about changing the stories, composing new myths, recreating the mythological underpinnings that inform and direct the course of our lives. The Second Reformation is a stage, like a psychological stage in the development of a child. The womanly has been degraded by Western religion, and it has become our task as free-thinking women and men to reconceptualize ourselves as a reflection of the divine and to remember and celebrate the divine within ourselves. We must accomplish our mission before we will be able to realize on a full planetary scale that divinity is contained in all, in every man, woman, and child, in every blade of grass. As we begin to recognize the divinity in all, we will move forward in divine partnership with every force and form in the world. I sew onto my stole a Venusian cross, a cross with a hole in the upper arm, an Egyptian ankh to represent birth and life, the cross of the body of the female, the womb from which we all emit, the womb to which we all return. I sew on the ankh to remind me of the female body, my body, the body that surrounds the abyss. I contain the void. This I remember, and this is my power. Beautiful purple brocade, beautiful eggshell brocade, fabulous golden lace. I sew on garnets to remind me of my womanhood, to remind me of my woman blood, that I am a woman, that I have made love, that I have given birth, that my breasts have filled with milk, that I have loved deeply, that I have cradled to my heart the dying, that I have bathed this body in the ashes of the dead. The cathedral is cold, it is empty, it is dark. The labyrinth seems endless. I pray, I walk. Sometimes I move toward the altar, sometimes I move away. The hungry soul coming for solace must be left unsolaced still. One who walks the path in the soul's dark night may stay in the dark night forever. We create realities by which we are denied, and yet we have choice. We can focus our attention on the depths of the abyss, or we can focus attention on the minuscule flame. Like divine fools, we can dance in faith at the edge of the world. We can dance in our ideals. We can skip into the black abyss crying, love, soul, earth, water, sky, father, mother, seasons. We can take the sacred vow. We can speak the ceremonial oath. We can pray. We can chant. We can raise our voice in song. We can celebrate in silent beauty, enact the power of creation to invent worlds never before known. Love, love divine, blessings of love upon you. I step in to the center of the labyrinth, and there stands my friend, Sister Lonnie. She is praying, she is smiling, she is blazing like the Holy Mother. She has given me her poem, which I carry in my heart. Love, love is. Love is all. Love is all there. Love is all there, really. Love is all there really is. Love is all there, really. Love is all there. Love is all. Love is. Love. A teenage boy comes into the circle, pauses briefly at the side, laughs a little, too timid to occupy space. Quickly he moves out. I love this boy. I love this boy intensely. I walk to the center. I let go. I release. I hear Judy's voice ringing like the voice of an angel. Celebrate life. Celebrate life. I move into the labyrinth's eye. I step into the center of the maze, and the light streams down upon me. I open my hands to receive the light, exposing the small bronze labyrinth I have carried all this way. It sparks with uncanny radiance, holy of holies, power of initiation. I close my eyes and I feel this time and place so deeply. And when I open my eyes, the center of the labyrinth is full of people, and they are standing and kneeling, some with eyes closed, some with eyes open, some with tears streaming, some smiling gently. I stand awestruck, recognizing some, not recognizing others, realizing how we have all walked the path as one. Union, I am joined with the infinite. Past and future spiral into this moment at the center of the rose. Cold and hot intertwine, known and unknown merge, woman and man conjoin. I see myself chanting in a temple with the master of masters from across the sea. His beard is undulating upon his chest. His brown hands are calloused and folded upon his knees. We breathe together and we chant together, and together we call the divine, and all is of one essence, and the name of that essence is love. Love is the center of all. All is reborn in love. And the voices of a billion women rise up and sing love, and the voices of a billion men rise up and join them. Nothing else matters, not gods and goddesses, not Apollo and Artemis, not woman, not man. There is one bow, there is one essence, no division, no separation. Love is the bow, love is the arrow, love is the target, love is the message, love is the prophecy. And Judy stands there, glowing like an angel. She stands at the labyrinth's heart, radiating in the center of all that is, and she whispers for all wise pilgrims to hear, celebrate life. Celebrate life. I remember the words of my teacher. Call into yourself the highest, most loving, and instructive powers in the universe, and the path of your soul will be revealed. I call all the sisters to join me, and instantly they are there. Laila, Mary Totten, Alilat, Electra, Hypatia, Bitten by the Wolf, Diana, and 1,000 others I know and know not. Laila places her beautiful long hands in prayer position, bows to me, and says, "Welcome. I honor the sacred within you." Mary Totten crosses her loving heart with her fingers outstretched like wings, bows, and says, "Lady of the white dove, come and join our dance." And then there is dancing, and I see a form dancing, moving like a golden wave, graceful as a willow, light as a silver flickering flame. She opens like a lotus, the sacred open channel, conductress of the spark of life, and to her I am drawn as a pilgrim is drawn to inner light. Then her face opens to me, and her face is my face, and I know her as she who has always been, and I hear her name whispered, Silver Reed. We dance and we dance as if we are dancing in the stars, and the sisters call out the words and sounds and phrases in all the sacred languages, and the tones and chants vibrate dusts into spiraling vortices and swirling spheres. Love, truth, beauty, wisdom, freedom, soul, life, healing. Particles charged with force and current leaps, indescribable aurora. We are laughing, dancing out beginnings. Laila opens her hands and cries out, "Life is sacred." Her words soar in the void, and clouds of dust are summoned and swirl into action. Mary Totten shakes her sistrum, and all vapors iridize. Alilat sings, "Live in love, live in love." Electra wraps her fingers through those of Alilat, and the two raise their arms in triumph, and Electra calls, Joy, sister, joy. Through love we know the world's heart. Bitten by the wolf chants in strange and beautiful tongues, and all of creation assumes rich coloration. Hypatia cries, dance upon the ashes of the dead and gain strength for living. Diana calls, after the forest burns, does the doe give birth to twins? Hypatia calls, life springs eternal. All respond, as does thy spirit. Silver Reed calls out, what, Sister Pamela, do you have to teach us? What are the words of your song? I look down at the little bronze labyrinth in my hands. It glimmers and shines in the half light of the church, and suddenly I am back in my room. I open my eyes, and there is my little candle flickering upon the makeshift altar. I pause for a minute, feeling very reflective, very sentimental, very attached to the little life I have created. Before me are the shelves of books and writings from the decade I worked on my doctorate and from my first decade as a university educator. There are books and writings from my recent studies, the Upanishads, the Bhagavad Gita, the Zendavesta, the Tao Te Ching, the Book of the Hopi, the Quran, the Bible, the Zohar, the Sefer Yetzirah, a big collection of books on the Kabbalah, books about all the goddesses. There are books about the religions of indigenous peoples and books about medicine and healing that overlap all the stages through which I have passed. There must be at least 50 volumes on childbirth, including one I authored myself. There are novels, too, Steppenwolf and Siddhartha, Death Comes for the Archbishop, Zorba the Greek, To the Lighthouse, Animal Dreams. There are rows and rows of journals that I have kept for 20 years and a crystal ball containing 2 pillars of black tourmaline. There is Tarot of the Spirit, which I created with my mother. There are many kiln-fired spirit dolls, some pure white porcelain, some ruddy terracotta that I sculpted over the years as I sat in my art studio meditating and contemplating the melodious strains of the Indian and Japanese flute. Every fingerprint in the clay, now forever etched by fire, bears a prayer. May I live my life in alignment with the perfect movements of heaven and earth. There are flowers, yellow mums, white roses, pink orchids, and pictures of my children. Do you remember, says Riavec, when Taylor was 5 years old and the 3 of you were sitting at the dinner table eating pizza and Taylor announced that he would never die? Yes. I was a single mom then, and I remember how hard it was to get home from work before the daycare center closed. Those were difficult times, especially when I was taking commuter flights back and forth from San Francisco to Los Angeles. Do you remember, he asks, how Cajun argued with him, how she informed him that everybody has to die, even Taylor? Yes. Remembering that makes me sad. Remember, too, how when he was 13, his room became a shrine to the dead. He played music exalting death, and he papered his walls with posters of musicians and actors, all of whom had died so very young. Yes. Do you remember that you were like that when you were 13? You, too, had already found the hole in your soul, and you were trying, just like Taylor, to make sense of it all. I smile and shake my head. I can see myself in Taylor. I can see myself in Cajun too. What is our quest if it is not to understand the meaning of birth and death, rebirth and love? Taylor will be okay, says Riebeck. You have shown him what it means to care. The feeling of emptiness creates a desire to know fullness. The desire to know fullness leads to a life of spiritual seeking. Those who follow the spiritual path, who move into a life of intense spiritual devotion, come to realize that love is the essence. Love is the power. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love is expansive and forgiving. Love rejoices in truth, in freedom, in exploration. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. As it says in the Bible, love never fails. But if there are gifts of prophecy, they will be done away. If there are tongues, they will cease. If there is knowledge, it will be done away. For we know in part, and we prophesy in part. But when the perfect comes, the partial will be done away. The perfect is love. Love is the Redeemer, the Sanctifier, the Creator. When one comes into the power of love, one's heart opens to the heavens, to the earth, to every single creature and every sprouting seed. One's heart floods with compassion for all, and the reigning desire is to serve the beloved. I have a vision. The world is coming to an end soon. Things that have been shall cease to be. The old shall die. The old shall fade away. Shall fall away distortion, discord, division. Shall fall away separation, clashes of will. We shall grow from every challenge. We shall properly attune. We shall activate our compassion, our conscience, our highest forms of service, and we shall become dedicated, loyal, and noble. We shall move into a deep understanding of creative principle. We shall imagine a world that has never been, a world in alignment with the harmonious movements of heaven and earth, and we shall move through the portal toward perfection. We shall move through the portal into new forms of being, bringing every impulse, emotion, thought, word, and deed into alignment with our deepest soul. We shall unite the world under love's healing banner, the banner of the radiant heart. We shall not compromise. We shall seek the perfect balance of intellectual pursuit and loving understanding. We shall break the screen of oppression and emerge clean, clear, pure, and deserving. We shall move in grace in the beautiful dance. We shall honor those who dance together and those who dance alone. And every path of spirit shall be recognized as the right way. We celebrate the coming of the all-illumined child of peace. I bow to you, dear sister. I bow to you, dear brother. You are the one whom we have so long awaited. Radiant and united with freedom, compassion, and wisdom as our guides, the 6 billion that we are, male, female, black, brown, white, yellow, gold, pink, olive, and red, join hands and walk into new possibility. We imagine a world where all of life is sacred and every single being is divine. We walk as one and hold the deep knowledge in our hearts. Whatever we create becomes. We shall be of one heart, and in the process we shall be like the willow. Ridicule shall pass like a breeze between our branches. I get out a sheet of paper to more clearly record my thoughts. I scrawl out the code under which I shall be ordained. Knowing how my views change as lessons are revealed, however, I decide not to carve the precious words in stone. Code of the Radiant Heart. I honor the wonder of life and believe life is sacred. I honor the individual's direct experience and interpretation of the sacred. I honor deep contemplation of the meaning of personal and collective life and believe that such reflection is essential to attaining a balanced individual and social state of being. I honor considered and conscientious understanding, thought, speech, and action. I honor and celebrate diversity in lifestyle and perception. I honor perspectives that unify and integrate. I honor empathy and kindness. I honor non-violent approaches to conflict resolution. I honor the simple, natural, creative, and responsible life which does not harm or endanger others or the earth. I honor the equality of all. In the spirit of freedom, compassion, wisdom, and possibility. Signed, Sister Pamela. Riavek speaks. Your spirit goes back to the beginning. Your heart goes back to the beginning. Your mind goes back to the beginning. You are the body of nature embracing the soul's deep mystery. Feel the life force quivering. You are ready, Sister Pamela. The message of your spirit is freedom. The message of your heart is love. Your mind calls you to wisdom. Your body whispers, awaken. Awaken to the sacrament of life. Awaken. Awaken at last. Step into the soul's deep mystery, the mystery of electrifying beauty. Step into the soul's deep mystery and occupy eternal being. The legacy of passion's flame, eternally afire, is yours. You are the cosmic sea, giving birth to all creation. Tremble amidst the awesome forces. Amidst the winds of swirling change, center yourself in pure being. You have reached the far land for which you were destined, and that sacred country is the still and precious garden at the center of your soul. Know this garden, tend it, and there celebrate the holiest of holy sacraments, for you are the guardian of forever, the priestess of the eternal, and that, my dear, is your strength. The garden of the soul is a universe. The universe continually expands and contracts, The universe endlessly spins, and the heart of the spinning is stillness. Stillness lives in the labyrinth's eye. At the calm, quiet center, the gardener plants a seed. The seed sprouts and blooms, and the gardener cries out, gasping in awe for the wonder of the incomprehensible potential and the majesty that is life.